you. Thank you. We're going to show a little PSA that is related to my organization right now.
Meet Jane. See Jane. See her? She makes up half the world's population. But you wouldn't know it by watching kids' media. On screen, Jane is outnumbered by a ratio of 3 to 1. When she is there, a lot of time it's purely as eye candy. And girls everywhere are watching. On average, over 7 hours a day. If they see Jane, it's with little to say, few career options, and even fewer aspirations. But we can change. Meet Jane. See Jane? She has half the world's population. She has important things to say. And she can be anything she wants to be. But to empower girls, we need to see Jane. SeeJane.org. If she can see it, she can be it.
Wow, so we're quite ready for this discussion. I'm sure everybody all afternoon has been talking about so many of the issues that you've hit on. And I want to talk, the first thing is about the numbers. Yeah. Right, so I get your issue briefs. I will give a plug for the Institute's issue briefs. The numbers are so interesting. They show about 5 to 1 in terms of men to women behind the camera. I want you to explain to people
behind and in front. How weird is that?
Yeah. And right, I mean, with sort of the 20% threshold.
Right.
And that you were talking about, I wanted you to talk about why that matters. Because as you were saying, if you can see it, you can be it. Right. And the truth is, nobody counts what they don't see.
Right.
And I want you to talk about why the numbers matter to folks who might not understand why the behind-the-scenes number matters.
Right. Well, the numbers, I was talking about how stagnant progress is in getting more female characters on screen. Behind the camera, it's so stagnant. It's unbelievably low. I mean, female directors has been in the single digits forever, and it just sort of dances around between 7% or 2%. But the average of directors, writers, and producers is 5 to 1, male to female. And part of the, partly, of course, it's unfair and it shouldn't be that way, but part of the impact it has is that there are fewer female characters on screen than there would be if women were involved. If there's a woman writer, director, or producer on a project, the number of female characters on screen goes up by as much as 10%. So, we can impact it both by convincing the current people to add more female characters, but also by just getting more women in there, it will naturally change too.
Right, it's so interesting because somehow it reminds me from a totally different sector. I was at a meeting at a hedge fund once and I asked where the ladies' room was.
Oh no.
And the guy said, I have to go ask my secretary. I have no idea. And I was thinking, wow, it could be down the hall and across the floor, who knows? But it's right.
I thought you were going to say, and he said, we don't have one. That would be
I think it came with the building.
Right.
But that is true that you see shows where you see really smart roles for women tend to be in shows where women have been involved.
Well, I can't, I don't know any figures about that, but it does seem that way, yes.
And from the macro perspective, from the big picture, you've been studying this issue and you've been looking at the numbers over years. Are we headed in a direction where you see this changing at all? Do you see the stagnation giving way because of some bright spots in a pipeline, or because you see more women interested in getting involved behind the camera? Or is it sort of where we are and we're stuck there?
Specifically talking about the entertainment industry.
Yeah, I think in yours, and specifically in entertainment and media.
Well, so as I said, over the 20-year period we studied,
Right.
there really wasn't. There was 0.7% increase in the percentage of characters, female characters. So we haven't thus far been able to measure an improvement, but we have so much anecdotal evidence now, because what we do with the research is take it directly, because I'm in the industry, we
Right.
just go directly to Disney and Sony and Fox and everybody, and the Writers Guild and the Animators Guild and casting directors, for example, and we share privately this research with them. We don't, bust anybody publicly, and it's all confidential. I'm in the industry too.
Right.
I just want to help out. And the great thing and weird thing is they are shocked. They're absolutely floored to find out how few. Not that there's not half lead female characters. They know that. Everybody knows that.
Right.
But the fact that the worlds are not being populated by a female presence is very shocking to them. And the overwhelming response that we've got is, we want to change that. How ridiculous. I had one little experience with that on Stuart Little, where we were shooting a scene. There's a boat race, a toy boat race, and it's remote-controlled boats. And I was standing there watching, and the assistant director is handing out remotes. So he'd pick a little boy from the extras and give him the remote. And then he picked a little girl to stand behind him, sort of encouragingly. And he went down the line, boy, 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 girl, 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 in the back. And I said, oh, hey, would it be okay if we gave half of the remotes to girls? And he was like, yes. Like, what an idiot I am that I didn't think of that. So he would have if he just thought of it. So that's what the research is helping to do, is make people realize, oh, why are we doing that? Why are we having only 17% female characters?
You approach it from a really collegial, collaborative way. And a lot of people have attacked Hollywood in a much less collaborative way. And I wonder how you think that approach works in really trying to move beyond 20%.
Well, I don't want to be patting myself on the back or anything. There's been a lot of effort and work to try to get more female characters and more women employed in media for a long time. All the guilds, the Writers Guild, the Actors Guild, everybody has a women's empowerment division whose sole purpose is to get more women employed, but the numbers have never changed, and that's been since the 70s, since the women's movement and everything. But I do see that change, at least in this area of getting more women on screen. I do see a lot of potential in that changing within the next 5 years, because everywhere we go, we get anecdotal evidence of somebody saying, well, now I just changed my project because of what you said. And there's even a movie coming out soon where they changed some characters to female because of the numbers.
Because of awareness.
Yeah.
Yeah, paying attention. When I was listening to your remarks backstage, I was thinking about, you were talking about your daughter's television. And I just went for the first time shopping for a girl baby stuff. And what I noticed was in the store, the half for girls was princess, and the half for boys was space and the alphabet. And I said to my husband, I think probably the girl needs to learn the alphabet too.
Was this baby stuff?
Baby
like little
stuff.
kids? Oh, yeah.
And I just wonder, how much do you think the media is simply reflecting everything else that is being fed in terms of commerce, in terms of other forms of communication beyond sort of film and TV?
Well, I think a great deal. A lot of decisions are made based on what merchandise can we sell with this movie.
Right.
They'll change the color or something. If the marketing people say, we don't want red, it should be blue or something, they will change it. And we even heard from one animation studio that made TV animated shows that the buyer said to them when they went to add a female character to one of their shows, they said, what are you doing to us? We can't, you're just sucking up space that a male character, we could sell the figures, the action figures. So you're killing, and they had to take out the female character because they thought nobody's going to buy the female action figure. So, yeah, they're both impacting each other.
One last question as we prepare for Q&A, which is, I wanted to ask a personal question of you, which is, it's not that personal, don't worry, which is, how have you been responded to in this? Because a lot of people don't want to make waves in their own industry, right? It's much easier to go and talk about politics as Geena Davis than to go and talk about Hollywood, right? Because you're still a working actor.
Yes, yes, and I often point out, and feel free to hire me as one of these, as one of these new female characters you're adding. You know, it's been great, and I didn't know in the beginning how they were going to respond, but I think because I'm taking it to them privately, and I'm not exhorting the public to rise up and picket or something or boycott. I'm just saying, you know what, let's just work with them. And if we change that, everything else will fall into place. So they've been very receptive, and every other year we have a symposium where we release new research. We have a huge study of the occupations of all female characters in all movies and all TV that's coming out in the fall. And we get 400, 500 top executives and producers and directors from Hollywood come, you know, all the heads of the studios, all the heads of the networks. So they are not offended.
And no one ever has time probably to ever look at those numbers or assemble that kind of data.
Right, exactly.
Questions from the audience? It's not a shy group, which is terrific.
Hi. I actually was finishing formulating my question, so I just really have a comment instead, which is that I just want to applaud you for your work. I've been following it for quite a long time. I work in the women and girls space and have for 20 years. And what we need more of is addressing root causes, which is what you're doing. And there's so much incredible work going on around the world addressing all of the symptoms of what we're facing now. And again, I just, you know, it's more difficult, it's more complicated to address the root causes, and I think that the work that you're doing very quietly and very effectively is incredible, and we need more like it. So, thank you.
As we go to the next question, how do people get involved if they want to make a difference on this issue?
You mean besides donating? Oh, I'm sorry. They could go to cjane.org, and there's ideas there, and there's all the research is there, and everything.
Yes, there's somebody with them. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Anna. I feel compelled to say something because I studied with George Gerbner, who started...
Can you put it a little... I'm sorry, I'm
away
losing my
or closer?
hearing. Just put it a little closer.
Okay. I studied with George Gerbner, who started content analysis back at Annenberg School at the University of Pennsylvania. So I've done a lot of content analyses, and it's just surprising to me to hear that nothing has changed, because we did all that stuff back in the late 70s, early 80s, and came to the same conclusions. So I'm just basically making a comment. I also want to tell you that I'm currently teaching middle school. I teach French. And I'm trying to create a film program for my middle schoolers. And so I've looked at French and Belgian movies about kids, and they're all boys. There are no stories about girls. So it keeps going, and it's international.
Well, you know, I'm very interested to hear you say that, because we know that about 80% of the media consumed worldwide is made in the U.S., so we're the ones actually exporting this horrible vision of women. But we are raising funds right now to do the first global study of films, of women's depictions in films. And we have, you know, maybe half the money now, but that's our next big goal, is to get a picture, or other countries doing it better. And it'll probably be very disappointing if nobody is.
Hi, my name's Cassidy. One way to take action on many social issues is through your consumer power. I wonder, out of curiosity, is there studies that show when women are equally lead characters or more, that the film makes less profit?
I'm glad you asked that. There has been a very extensive study done on this, and films either starring a woman or directed by a woman are equally profitable as films starring or directed by a man. Absolutely equally profitable. You have to adjust for the size of the budget, but as far as once you adjust for that, the profit is exactly the same. And it turns out that a lot of times movies starring women or directed by women have a smaller budget, because they don't trust it or, for whatever reason. And so people don't notice it as much. But, it keeps happening that there's these huge hits starring women. Hunger Games was the most recent one. And, there was Sex and the City and Mamma Mia in the same summer. And everybody said, oh, now it's over, the whole thing about women can't lead a movie is over, but nothing ever we never get momentum, and I think it's because they say, well, yeah, but it still could just be a one-off. I don't think we should trust that there's a trend happening, but the fact is that they will be as profitable as movies starring men.
And it comes back to the power of the wallet. Right. I mean, it really does come back to women paying attention to and supporting women filmmakers, supporting women in shows. I think we have time for one more question, and that's it.
Hello, Geena. One of the numbers you threw out was in the 20s. I think you said 57% of the leads in films were women. Do you think it had something to do with the advent of talkies? Did a studio exec sit down at one point and say, women have a voice, and we better get this down to the 17% number?
I don't know. I don't know what was so different back then. Why would it get worse? It's a strange phenomenon. But when films first started, Mary Pickford and all of those women had just as much clout and success and were producers. I think why it fell off in '46 is because of the backlash that happened after World War II. It's just like in League of Their Own. When the men came back, they said, well, now you can't play baseball anymore. Go away. We're going to have the men. And all the women were sent out of the factories and supposed to turn into June Cleaver. And I think that's when the big drop in the number of women of power on screen happened.
And hopefully we'll head back in that direction. Well, this has been delightful. I think we've left us with, if you can see it, you can be it. cjane.org, and use your wallet. Thank you so much to all of you.